Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Internet Friends. The episode where we clone Seth, but then we have to kill like either the real him or the clone. We haven't figured out
Both.
which is
Please
which.
kill both. I don't want anyone.
Just two guns shoot at the same time.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have him and his clone Mexican standoff, and just whichever one comes out is the one true Seth.
The surprise: we turn the guns on ourselves in unison.
We got dark so fast. We're like not even a minute in.
I've ended up on some really dark spaces on my TikTok algorithm. Seth knows this because Seth is the only person who I can send any of the dark shit that I get. I can send Brie some of them, but there's definitely things where I just like that maybe is a little too much for Brie.
Yeah, you just send me fun things. I like the things that you send me. Keep that up.
Well, you're also the only other corporate like friend that I have, so like you at least understand like the capitalism hellscape that I'm living through.
Yes, I do work for a small business now, but yes, previously.
Oh, I do too, and it's still corporate hell. Granted, it's a small business that contracts with the federal government, so it's like basically the worst possible way you can get into small business.
I will say, yeah, small businesses can get away with a lot, unfortunately, because they are so small and so under the radar. So they have their own unique and fun problems.
Just do what I do and just don't make any money.
Perfect. That'll work in capitalism. I think that's the goal.
Spend a shit ton of money on equipment and never make a single dime from using it.
Good. Sounds profitable.
I learned that from Seth.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
You're like, no further comment. Correct.
Anyways, how have you been, Seth?
Yeah. I've been all right. You know, it's been cloudy and stormy the last few days, so it's been cool, and I'm not dying from heat like I have been the last two episodes. So that's nice.
Yeah, we're getting the dregs of the tropical storm that hit the East Coast. Virginia only ever gets like the tail end of any of the hurricanes or tropical storms, so it's never that bad. Like we were getting like tornado watch. Be careful. We're expecting like tons of rain today. Like it's sunny outside right now. And we have had no wind.
Fun.
So yeah.
Weather people have no idea what's going on. It's a
absolutely not. As somebody who used to work in local news, meteorologists are basically just handed a sheet. It's like, this is what we think is going to happen today.
We checked the iPhone app, and this is what it said. So
that's basically
good enough.
That's basically all it is, and then they pay a shit ton of money for like those fancy graphics that they put on the TV.
Perfect.
Hey, Brie, anything interesting happening to you this week aside from working?
No, I've literally just been working. I was bitching during the pre-show that 5-day work weeks are just the worst, simply terrible. I think we should all have a 4-day work week because nobody's productive 5 days a week. Like I was productive like Monday and Friday this week, not anything in between. So there's no reason that I should be there 5 days. Hate that. I will say I did start working out again regularly, and that's been very nice. I actually woke up at 6 a.m. and got to the gym, so we are making gains.
6 a.m. There's a 6 a.m. now?
There is. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day anyways, to be honest. I'm an early bird.
So I've made a commitment to Emily that I will get up when she gets up in the morning, and so her first alarm gets off at 6. Like we're not out of bed by 6, but like the first alarm is at 6. And so that's currently the challenge I'm dealing with. I'm just at the point now where it's just like, if I don't have to be awake, I don't want to be awake.
I wish I could do that.
I think they call that depression.
Yes. No, absolutely.
Also that.
I'm
like preset for that. Sorry.
It's like, you don't have to say the quiet part out loud, Seth.
Hey, if the right gets to do it, why can't I?
Fair enough.
I don't think any of us want that.
Okay, then. Well, I guess that can go ahead and move into our first topic of the day, which was our homework that was assigned by Brie. So Brie had us watch The Prestige, a film from, I want to say, 18 years ago by Christopher Nolan, starring Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. And yeah, a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to go ahead and let Brie kick us off.
Yeah, I chose this mainly because this was my favorite movie for a very long time. I watched it 4 times in theaters. I don't know exactly why. Actually, we'll kind of get into why a little bit later, but yeah, I just it just really struck me. I thought it was kind of a fun concept. I had the biggest crush on Christian Bale. I still kind of do in a weird way. Him and Hugh Jackman are so young in this movie, little tiny babies. Yeah, it's just about two rival magicians competing, and I have
But
a lot
are
of
there
notes on
just
this.
two?
But are there just two? Who's to say? I did want to mention right off I forgot David Bowie is in this, and I was very excited to see him.
A
He's
lot of
handsome.
a lot of my notes have to deal with their representation of Colorado and Tesla.
Okay, I want to hear those immediately because I do have some notes about Tesla. I'm like, just small things before I kick it over to you, Seth. One, I don't know what accent he was trying to do, or if that's just David Bowie's accent, but I was like, is that a Serbian accent? Because Nikola Tesla is a Serbian man. So, but I don't know how realistic they were. And I went down the rabbit hole of like, what does a Serbian accent sound like? And for reference, for uh, I think you two knows about me, but I am of Serbian descent, so I should know this, but
Yeah.
do not, in fact.
I will say about the accent thing, I found it interesting. Like, was Hugh Jackman not supposed to be British in this? Because he went with, like, his default, like, American accent, despite being Australian.
Oh, good point. Actually, I have no
Yeah.
idea. Did they? Because Christian Bale has a very, very British
Oh, yeah,
accent.
no, he went full British on that
Yeah.
one.
He was just talking normal for him.
I
We
was about to
forget
say,
that
it's just
that's
like,
his
wait, this is the
regular
first
voice.
movie I don't
Yeah.
have to make an accent? Awesome, let's go.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. Yeah. Well, I guess no, because he's French in the movie. He doesn't have a French accent. Because right? Doesn't they meant? I don't know. Who's to say? But
I don't remember them
Who knows
mentioning-
where anyone's from?
Yeah, they never mentioned his nationality. I guess maybe his name, Angier, could be like the reference point they were hoping you'd pick on. But I was just like, so like, he's doing like a neutral American accent despite being in Great Britain, and so like, is he supposed to be American who's in Great Britain?
is he from Illinois? Is he me? Who's to say?
Like, I'm just so confused.
Yeah. I don't really have super interesting notes except Hugh Jackman does say "good girl," and let me tell you, I had to take a moment. I said, "Okay, pause. Okay, resume." Anyways, wasn't expecting that.
Got a
Very. It's just 'cause it's so hot in here.
Yes, the film taking place in both of these actors' primes basically did a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, they're little cutie pies.
Yeah.
They're so fucking young in this movie, both of them. Yeah, honestly, my only main notes on this, just in general, one, I think it holds up. I thought the movie was pretty good. I will say I'm kind of interested to see your two thoughts on this in terms of like, obviously this is not a linear story. It jumps around quite a bit.
Wait, a Christopher Nolan movie doesn't follow a linear timeline?
Yeah, I know. I think it's just a matter of like, I kind of, when I was first watching it, I was like, because obviously I knew the twist because I've seen this many, many times before, but I was like, does this work in this instance? I did like it later in the movie, especially like when you get to see like, oh, he's been limping this whole time, and now you got to see how he got that limp and blah, blah, like XYZ. But yeah, I think that's all I have, like just right off the get-go. I think it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a little longer than it maybe needed to be, but I thought it was good. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Speaking to the limp, Christian Bale, you killed the dude's wife. Did you have to break his leg too?
That's fucking brutal.
Like, Christian Bale went hard. Which also one of my notes is Christian Bale is the most 2000s looking man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like he just
100%.
he just looks like he stepped out of 2005 into whatever year this is from. I enjoyed it. But I had the cloning machine ruined for me.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I knew
no.
that the trick involved like some kind. So I thought the cloning machine was going to have much bigger presence in the movie than it had, not just being in the last little bit. But then also during the first court scene when Christian Bale waves at his daughter, I wrote, "Oh, I wonder if that guy who looks exactly like Christian Bale with a mustache is going to turn out to be his brother or something." So I picked up on that right away. But I liked that because then you got to see all the little like subtle hints of when they were switching and how his wife's like, "Only some days do you mean you love me?" And like, and I thought that was real neat.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on some of Seth's points. Yeah, Like, I also already kind of knew about the cloning thing. Again, this is one of those movies that I've only ever seen in pieces. I've never like sat down and done a full watch through, so this is the first one I do. So having that piece of information makes a lot of the movie basically having that piece of information makes the movie more predictable. You know, much like a cipher, it's just like I know specifically where this is going, so like I can kind of piece together what's happening. So like I always felt like I was like 3 steps ahead of the narrative, where it's just like there was times where it's just like, why are you believing anything this guy is saying? At any point, like there's like entire time it's just like, why do you believe him right now? Why do you believe anything you're reading in his journal right now?
Yeah.
Just yeah. So there was a lot of interesting things that it did, but yeah, knowing specifically about the cloning stuff does kind of make the plot a little bit more predictable. Like it would have been more interesting going in 100% blind into this movie, because I feel like that would change a lot of it. And one of the points I kind of had was kind of about, you know, when to break realism in a film, because the cloning part of it's like the one thing in the movie that isn't totally grounded. Everything else is relatively grounded in reality. Like all the
like all the magic tricks are.
they're all practical magic tricks and like illusions and everything else. Like that's the one thing in the film where it's just like, okay, this breaks realism. So I kind of hated that in this film, because keeping it grounded in reality, I feel like made the narrative more interesting. Where it's just like when you introduce like something that is fantastical, kind of just makes everything else feel cheapened.
I don't know if I agree with that. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I thought it was all right. The cloning.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting in terms of like. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think like it says more about Hugh Jackman's character's like need to one up the other character, that he's going to push even science and technology to a point that like so that he can have the better trick.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and again, like I realize that I might be in the minority of it, and that's fine. That's just how I felt about it. But I can see like why, like eventually, that did have to be the thing that it got built up to, because Hugh Jackman's character needed the fantastical, you know, miracle specifically to get where he wanted. But specifically, the thing.
Well, and he also couldn't handle the fact that his double was getting the prestige at the end of the show.
Yeah,
he's having to hear the applause from Nancy.
Yeah,
it's a very selfish thing that led to this as well.
Yeah, and I think kind of the thing that, and this is like my first like bullet point note, is just like it's kind of really fun because neither of the characters, Christian Bale's character or Hugh Jackman's character, is the hero of the story. They're both kind of just each other's villain.
Yes.
Like neither of them is a good person. They both do shitty things, to not just to each other, but to the people closest to them. Like they objectively are selfish, shitty people, constantly trying to just screw the other one over. You know, one of them, you know, might have done something crappier at the beginning, and there's several points in the film where I felt like your sympathies can kind of change and shift. Like I'm more sympathetic to Hugh Jackman at this point, but at a certain point your sympathy goes away for him, and then you're a little bit more sympathetic to Christian Bale, and then so on and so forth. But at no point do you go, it's just like, this is the person who's right in this situation. They're both kind of wrong the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Christian Bale's a little better, I would say. At least because I mean, ultimately, this movie is about obsession and how far you can take that obsession, which I think is kind of an interesting thing. I feel like and not that it's never been explored, but I think this is a very interesting way to explore it. And I think that's kind of where like the fantastical elements come in really strongly, because like to what Seth said, it's just like nothing was enough for him. Yep. Reality wasn't enough for him. Like he needed so badly to be the absolute best at this, which is interesting too, because even at the very ending when he's dying and he's like, oh, is the look on their faces, I was like, was that for them or was that for you? Like, I feel like he made it seem so like altruistic. I was like, no, dude, you've hurt a lot of fucking people. Because not to mention like both of their significant others dying very tragic, very awful deaths, which I do like that it mirrors the way they die as well. Just a small little detail that I think is nice. Not nice, but interesting. we don't like people hanging themselves or drowning. Not fun. But yeah. I'm glad you guys.
But if you can
liked
get
it.
YouTube clicks out of it, then go right ahead and film it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, and that's I think kind of the thing is just like it's a story about egos. Like they both are so wrapped up in the craft and their work and what they do. And specifically the obsession that Angier, Hugh Jackman's character kind of develops is definitely more extreme, I would say. Because I would say Christian Bale's character would have been probably fine just going about his business, but because of how he reacted and everything else, it just turned into it. But regardless, they're both just so obsessed with. Their heads are both so far up their asses that they can't like really see everything else for other reality, and they just not only do they screw over each other, they're screwing over the people they care about.
Mm.
And that's where you kind of get into the...
To the point that like Christian Bale's when they're doing the brother swap thing, that shows that neither of them really care about the wife that they have,
right?
Because they're both just swapping left and right and not telling her. 2 notes I took were dude really should have told his wife about his brother. Yep. And then when she hung herself, I wrote, dude should have really told his wife about his fucking brother.
Yeah.
Again, and it's all ego. The only reason you don't show is like, I have to have the secret. That's the whole point. That's the craft. And it's just like, dude, if there's one person who you can tell, it's your wife.
Yeah, you showed her the bullet catch trick. You can't tell her how you're doing the body swap.
Yeah, like that was kind of a very hard thing. But like it also is kind of interesting, but because of this constant escalation and back and forth between them, they both became better magicians and showmen out of it. Yeah. Words. I have alcohol in front of me just so everybody knows. It's been a long week.
It's been a week.
Yeah. It's been a long year.
It's still not over yet. But no, like
this is a gripe I have that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, this is a gripe I have that is exclusive to me as somebody who was born and raised in Colorado. That's not Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs doesn't look anything like that. They use Silverton and Durango.
I was
also,
about to say it looks
Tesla's
more like
workshop,
Durango than it looks like Colorado Springs because I've driven through both.
Because they shot there.
I mean, if I remember correctly, Colorado Springs is really flat for the most part.
Yeah, there's Pikes Peak on one side, and then it's flat on the other.
Yeah.
And which brings me to my next point. Tesla's workshop isn't on Pikes Peak like they said it was in the movie. It was out in the fucking plains in a field. No trees around it at all. Also, Tesla, you're in love with a pigeon. Maybe just build the cloning device.
He's also not magic. I love that that's not the problem you have with
Yeah.
Like Tesla was a real ass person who did real ass things. No, it's magic though.
And see, I think that's where I have like the problem with the realism. Fair. It's just like you can't come up with any other way that you could have like magically done cloning. You went with Tesla. And I realized this was in an era where, you know, a lot of people were pushing the like Tesla comeback and like, you know, saying like, hey, do you realize that Edison ain't shit kind of stuff?
We do love Edison slander. There was some Thomas Edison slander in here. We love that.
I mean, that's
one of the notes I have is I love the Edison slander.
Let's also remember Tesla did support eugenics, so he's not 100% squeaky clean.
Yeah, it's true.
So
that's true.
They're not squeaky clean, but I think we can all agree like Edison sucks. That's
yes, no fucking question.
No, I do kind of find it funny because watching this film, especially like a film that's almost 20 years old, man, this film did typecasting real hard with their cast. Because I feel like every actor basically played themselves for the most part. Because if there's one thing Hugh Jackman is good at, it's being the center of attention and like a good showman. That's kind of his whole shtick. Christian Bale,
he's the greatest showman.
We said they're the same people, by the way.
We all mind meld. We all share a brain cell on this podcast, and so basically we're just kind of tossing it to each other. And
yeah, but say just one, just bouncing. Occasionally two.
But like Christian Bale, you know. Despite the fact that he does have a little bit more like range, he still always kind of plays like a really just like curmudgeon-y character in almost every role he plays, whether it's this or Batman or Dick Cheney or anything else he's played. Like he typically just kind of plays the fuck you character.
And Michael Caine is always Michael Caine.
Yeah, no, it's just Michael Caine. And then, of course, you just
He's great at that, though.
Scarlett Johansson's just playing Scarlett Johansson. Just like everybody's just kind of typecasted.
I like can't stand her. Fun fact. I don't know why. I just do not like her as an actress, which is crazy because again, this is like one of my favorite movies, and I'm just like, I forgot she was in this, but she's not really that interesting. She's really just like a pushing part of the plot around. So,
Which is kind of how people
Yeah.
cast Scarlett Johansson. It's just like you're there to be there for plot purposes.
pretty lady.
Speaking of that, man, did they go hard into the tropes for women that are just super problematic. I have it in the doc. It's just like, wow, this is very bad writing for women.
Yeah.
You fridge the wife. You have
Both wives.
yeah, you fridge the wife.
Both wives.
Yeah, you fridge both wives. The Scarlett Johansson's character is like very like one-dimensional and not super compelling, and just like
And used as an object by
Yeah.
both magicians.
yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, writing in the mid 2000s. Ooh boy.
We almost had
What happened to
feminism there, not
Scarlett
yet.
Johansson?
Yeah, feminism
almost.
didn't hit the scene until 2012, right? That's how
I'm
it was.
pretty sure.
The
Yeah.
Mayan
Yeah.
calendar ended. The world
It
was
was
supposed
once
to end,
Tumblr
but
came
instead
along.
we just had feminism come out of nowhere.
Pretty sure.
What happened to Scarlett Johansson? Because she just disappears out of the
Literally
movie at one
nothing.
point.
Like,
I mean, it's just a job,
She
right?
stopped existing.
yeah, I think the
She
last.
just went to
Yeah,
another
true.
job.
Yeah, I think the last scene with her is just saying it's just like, oh, I really wanted to talk to your wife and see how she felt. And it's just like, no, the fuck you didn't.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then
I remember that scene now.
yeah, but like, and like none of the women ever have a conversation with each other at any point. Like, doesn't even remotely try to hit the
Nope.
Bechdel test. Just like, yeah, we're not even worried about that shit. Women having a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I really, it's just the two main characters. That's about it. Everyone else is just kind of set pieces. Again, including Michael Caine, who we love, Michael Caine, but you know,
Yeah.
he's just being
Yeah.
Michael Caine.
The disrespect to Michael Caine's the worst to the disrespect to women. Objectively.
Objectively, absolutely.
I don't know if I agree with that one.
I was about to say, for everybody listening, that was a joke.
Just silly haha.
One note I have, because I was also a little intoxicated watching this film, and I wrote it down because I thought it was funny. When they bring out Hugh Jackman's double after dyeing his hair and shaving his mustache, I said out loud to myself, boy, they really made him look like Hugh Jackman. Oh, wait, that's just Hugh Jackman.
They did a great job. Phenomenal, in fact.
At what point did you realize
But-
that what was his name? Fallon was like, you know, the double for Christian Bale. At what point did you guys click on that?
The opening scene. I told you that already. It's my second note.
That's right.
My first note is there something wrong with my stream, or does this movie not have sound? Right after that is, I wonder if the guy who looks exactly like Christian Bale is his brother.
I'm like, I didn't notice it the first time, but I will say we were talking kind of earlier. I was like, I feel like this movie is probably really good exactly 2 times.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's good. Like when you don't know the twist, like I think the twist is still pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
It
I
is
think
a good twist.
it's a good twist. I think that's why it was my favorite movie at the time, because like I like media that can genuinely surprise me. And when I first saw this, it genuinely surprised me because I was so fucking confused. And I was like, what is happening? Then on a second watch, you see those little
Yeah.
bits and pieces where you're like, oh shit, this makes way more sense now.
It's kind of like
think it
Fight
still
Club
holds
in
up,
that
but-
way, and that like the first time if you watch Fight Club completely blind, it's totally
Mhm.
like, you know, it's really good, and they're just so surprised by it. And then when you go back and watch it, like knowing all those details changes a lot of how you view the movie, and you can like see like where they splice in things and different images, and just kind of like see the full story on the second watch. But yeah, going into it already kind of knowing like the big twist and the big spoiler and like that piece of information, even if you don't know the rest of the movie, does kind of make it a little less I wouldn't say less interesting, but just less surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think watching it like I don't know how many times I've seen it now, but I'm like, this last time again, I had a little more of a problem with them not doing a linear story. I don't know if this would necessarily worked better or worse, like with that, like not doing that, but like I was kind of irritated because I was like, they are jumping around so fucking much at the beginning and to very random points of time. I think it makes sense overall. I think it's not a bad choice. I just like, I don't know if it's a necessary choice. I don't know if you two feel similarly about that, but I think I could take it or leave it.
I liked the time skipping. Uh,
Having some internet connectivity issues
I
on
also
my end.
internet's going in and out, and I'm having a
Oh,
hard time
no.
keeping.
Bree's fine on my end. Seth's not so.
No,
great
it's
on my
me.
end. Okay.
It's
Yeah,
me.
not us.
Yeah, I'm watching it drop up and down in the corner. No, I lost my entire point because of the internet problems. I'm sorry. What were we talking
Skipping
about? The
around time.
linearness.
Yeah.
I liked that it was. Yeah, I liked that it wasn't. I thought they did a really good job with all of the time skips and keeping it a coherent story. I enjoyed that. Also, going to the twist, I was watching it going, God, I wish the thing hadn't been spoiled for me because I
Mhm.
probably would enjoy
Yeah.
this a little bit more. I still really
Yeah.
liked it, but I would have enjoyed it a little more had I not known.
Yeah. No. I believe it or not, this is like one of the few cases where the non-linearness worked for me,
Mhm.
and I feel like it's just because like of how they chopped things up and how certain plot points led to another. They all made sense. Like, yes, it's
Yeah.
jumping around, but you know, like they go from basically they start kind of basically toward the end ish of like the actual timeline, and then through reading the journals and like bouncing around that kind of stuff, it made it a little bit more coherent. Whereas like you have things like a lot of Tarantino movies where it's just like it's just jumping around for the sake of jumping around,
Yeah.
and so you know this one I felt like at least worked in terms of what the narrative that they were trying to tell.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. I think it was like when I was first watching it, I found it a little irritating, but like again, the limp I mentioned, it also like I loved the opening shot of like the hats because you're like, why is there a pile of hats here? And then seeing that reveal later, that's pretty satisfying. So I do like it like overall. I think it was just kind of interesting to me. And I did have a point to something that I was saying. I just don't remember what that point is. So if anybody wants to take over until I remember, that would be great.
I will say they never looked outside. They've been cloning these hats and cats for how long, and they never thought, let's just look out the window. Andy Serkis never went for a stroll. Also, surprise Andy Serkis in this.
Yeah.
He's great.
I forgot about that completely.
I was about to say, I think this might have been like one of his earliest like human roles and not CGI character. Because like in that era, like he was known for Golem mostly, and mostly as like a CGI, based actor.
I will say I really enjoyed it. I made a small note of this just because
he
like
was
I
fresh
forgot
off
about
of King Kong.
So the cats, when he discovers that the cloning is happening, they use the most generic sound effects for cats, and they repeat like the same 3 over and over again, like the cat yowling 1, cat yowling 2, cat meow 1. And I'm just like, really?
The Wilhelm scream of cats.
Genuinely, I'm just like, oh, that's okay, that's fine. I'm sure that's what people do, but I was like, oh, that's so lazy. But I think I did remember what I wanted to say. I didn't. I forgot again. God damn it. I need more caffeine. I'm my best friend.
More caffeine. Let's go. Well,
you need those 6 espresso shots that Aaron had.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm
It's
missing.
doing wonders for me right now. Going off what we have on the topic doc, I think the next thing that we kind of haven't touched on is specifically the twist. We've talked about like knowing the twist ahead of time, but like what do we think of the twist in this and what makes a good one in films? I use the Fight Club example because I think that was the last time I saw a movie for the first time without having the twist or anything spoiled for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it generally made like kind of like that movie so much better. I think not knowing the twist is a very key part of whether a twist works or not.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. I will say also, and we might have discussed this before, but like I always think about this a lot when it comes to like Game of Thrones, because I think, granted, it's sort of a twist at the end, like it's unexpected, and I think that is the difference between like a very good twist. Like you need the setup, and it needs to be there needs to be points where you can kind of trace back if you watch it again and be like, oh, okay, they were setting this up here. Oh, okay, I didn't notice this before. But like the Game of Thrones example, they just did something unexpected that didn't make sense. That's not a good twist.
Yeah.
Like they just did it because they knew it would surprise people. And that's not helpful.
Yeah.
That's really just really shitty writing. That's not good setup, because watching that show back, the ending makes no fucking sense because they didn't build any of it
really
up.
doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you're like, okay. And it's not bad storytelling if the ending is predictable to a certain extent. That's just how stories work a lot of the time. And I think unfortunately some writers and like directors and things like that have confused that with like, no, we really have to just like totally throw them for a loop at the end. It's just like, you don't have to. That's totally fine. Or if you do, make sure that there's points where the audience can, you know, trace back to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that does kind of make sense. At least in my opinion, that's usually how it works.
Yeah, I think the difference specifically is like knowing what the end is ahead of time, and specifically knowing how you start your story. You know, everything else that's important is just A to B for that. And as long as you know, like, specifically the story that you're trying to tell, you can make whatever twist you want as long as it makes sense within the rest of the story. Where a lot of stuff has gone wrong in TV and Hollywood. Game of Thrones is a great example. Recent Star Wars, I think, is also a good example, where it's just like, you didn't really think about how you wanted to end it.
Yeah.
And so anything that you wanted to do to get to that end was basically just completely thrown out the window. You just kind of just made it up as you went. And I feel like that's where a lot of, because like specifically, like, despite the fact that, like, you know, I mentioned how like the cloning and breaking of the realism, you know, it made it less interesting to me. It's still one of those things where they establish that that is what is happening and what is going in the narrative. So when you go back and watch it, you see like, oh, there is a cloning element to this. And so like you have the question of like, was that Christian Bale's twin brother? Was that his clone? Like, what was that? Like, was just the fact that Hugh Jackman happened to discover Tesla doing cloning was purely on accident, or did Christian Bale's character figure that out before Tesla did? I don't know. Like, there's questions that you have to ask about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I, you know, speaking to like setup to this, they did it so subtly with the brother reveal, other than the fact that the one character looked a lot like Christian Bale.
Yeah.
They did it really well to where it felt like a good payoff when you found it out. And it wasn't just a surprise, he's had a brother. It was like, it made sense and it was satisfying. And like another example of that also in Game of Thrones is the Red Wedding. Where that was hugely surprising, but when you go back, you see all the little steps that led to it. And that's really important for a twist to work.
Yeah, foreshadowing works best when basically it's super unassuming when you see it the first time. And then when you get to that moment and you have the shock and everything, and you look back on it, it's just like, oh, that was always going to happen. You just had to follow, you know, all the pieces that came before. I think
or you can just J.J. Abrams it and mystery box, never reveal the twist, and just it's a bunch of setup. Figure it out.
I mean, going back to the Star Wars bashing, it's just like, how about I just react to whatever fans are saying online about the stuff I made?
Fans are always wrong. Don't ever listen to them. Please.
I support this message very hardcore.
I do want to mention, like, super quick. I mean, like that what you mentioned, just about the setup, because like even again watching this movie again, because Fallon is in it, like his brother, like he's in quite a lot of scenes, but he's always in the background. You usually see him from like the chest up, sometimes just his hand. They do talk about him here and then, but they I feel like he doesn't overstay his welcome, so you're not like asking too much about him, but he is present enough that, like, again, watching it back, you're like, oh, he's been here the whole fucking time in the background, like overseeing like, and that's really solid setup without it being too in your face. And also kind of going back to like the realism aspect of it, I do like the kind of fantastical elements, because like especially again watching the ending of this is kind of a silly concept for a movie. Like, you're just fucking magicians, guys. Calm the fuck down. Like, it's not that
I had that thought throughout the entire film, where I was just kind of like, were magicians really that big of a deal back in the day? Like I realized that this is like, you know, movies don't exist and everything, so I don't know what people are doing for entertainment. But at the same time, it's just like I kind of feel like people were doing other shit.
Yes, like no one else cares
Opium.
about this except them. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like that.
No, and like kind of one of the points I want to kind of piggyback off of about like twist and stuff. It's just like even when you do when you do see the twist coming, you know, there's a good twist that happens is a twist where like if you did see it coming, you're just like, ha, got it. Or if you didn't see it coming, it's just like, wow, that really surprised me. But it has to still like be something that was set up. It can't be something because you reward the people who picked up on it, and you still surprise the people who didn't.
Yeah, that can still be very compelling.
And that's the balance, because like because again, we all basically clocked. It's just like that guy looks a lot like Christian Bale. Wonder how that's going to turn out.
We couldn't have predicted cloning, so
Yeah.
Sorry, my internet dropped again for a second.
Just for a moment, I was like, no, we'll wait.
It's
We'll
like
wait.
we're on the Seth's Internet Sucks episode of Internet Friends.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, we
I'm
can
glad
cut
you
all
liked
this
it.
out. Yeah, it was good.
Fix it in post.
Just, yeah. Other notes. But yeah, and I'm playing up that like you could really tell the I can't remember his name, but that he was Christian Bale's brother just because I clocked it so soon, right?
Yeah, I didn't clock it.
I'm playing it up. They did a good job.
I didn't clock it instantly, but once I did clock it, it was just like, oh, okay. And like at that point, like the cloning stuff was starting to materialize. So like again, that goes back to like, is he his brother? Is he a clone? Like, what is it? And I feel
and there's
like
also that scene where where the wife comes in and she's like, I'm pregnant, and he said, oh, we should have told my agent. And it's like, why would you tell your agent right away?
He's the father.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Especially him not being that excited about it. Like he was kind of like, oh, babe, wow.
Yeah,
baby.
see, because like at the beginning, before you realize that like there is like a double, like you can interpret that as just like, oh, he has a personality disorder.
Sure.
Like that's basically how I clocked it. It's just like, oh, he has borderline, or he's bipolar, or like something that they didn't have a term for in the time period that this was set in. But like that's
interesting.
That's
a very modern take.
But yeah, that's basically what I interpreted initially, and then once you find out about the double thing, it's like, oh, it's because they're two different people.
Yeah. Also, did he win her over by breaking into her apartment?
Yes, because that works, so Seth. That works. Seth, please don't do that. I know it's
never worked for me.
I was about to say, I know you're very lonely. Please do not start breaking into women's apartments.
She was into it. It's fine, probably.
As the person who owns multiple firearms, I do not recommend you breaking into random apartments.
No, but also right before that, when he points to the lock and is like, oh, is that supposed to keep me out? Dude, creepy thing to say.
Not charming, very weird.
Like, you have to be Christian Bale in the mid-2000s to pull that off.
Listen, that would if Christian Bale said that to me, I'd probably like, come on in.
He wouldn't even have.
Fine, Christian Bale.
He probably wouldn't even have seen the lock at that point. He's already in.
I would say I'm letting him in actively.
Was there even a door? I didn't see it.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts, guys?
Let me look over my notes. Oh, I just noticed this note. These dudes are really unfair to women. Which goes back to what we were saying earlier.
Yeah, I was about to say, as far as women in writing goes, this is definitely an example you would use, like, as a not great.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing. At Hugh Jack, I almost said Hugh Hefner. Hugh Jackman's wife's funeral, Michael Caine is like, I knew a sailor once and he drowned. He turned out totally fine. Not the fucking time.
Read the room, buddy.
Yeah.
It's Michael Caine. He can say whatever he wants.
Yeah. And I get it. It was to be like, he said drowning was like comfortable and all that. Yeah. And then later on in the movie, he's like, yeah. And then later in the movie, he's like, oh, no, actually, he told me it fucking sucks.
Like Obsession, idiot.
Yeah.
You would think of like the mid 2000s, you know, like the idea of drowning with how many people were waterboarded, you know, could confirm or deny that how a drowning experience was.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did that.
Yeah, America.
Now I just want to talk about the Titanic.
That'll be your pick later.
No, maybe.
Maybe. We'll see.
All right. Well, talking kind of on a similar topic, we talked about how knowing the twist of this movie kind of changes your perspective on a first viewing if you kind of go into it. This kind of made me think about specifically spoiler culture and how, holy shit, it is almost impossible to avoid spoilers today at all.
Oh, yeah.
Period.
It
You
is.
gotta stay off the internet if you want to watch anything, and you have to watch it like day of.
Yeah.
Because, like we talked about last week, I did go see Deadpool and Wolverine, and I hadn't seen spoilers at the point that I watched it. But as soon as I got home and opened up the internet, it's just like, wow, everything, every big reveal is literally all over fucking TikTok. You cannot avoid it.
Gambit, though.
Gambit, I liked that.
That was probably one of the better cameos, in my opinion.
I have
It
opinions
was a
about
good
that.
one.
I have not seen the movie, but I'm gonna say a very mean thing.
Go for
I don't think he's hot enough to be Gambit.
Correct.
And
Fair.
when I saw like a very bootleg scene of that, and it was just like, I'm like, costume's pretty cool. It does look like a little campy, a little too
Yeah.
campy. I wish they would have updated like the chest plate.
They leaned into the camp, absolutely.
They did. It doesn't fit on his body, and it looks, especially with the face mask and everything.
They like got rid of his neck entirely.
Yeah.
The costume is wearing him, not the other way around, which is not ideal. But yeah, he's not my Gambit.
Yeah, I think it plays into the reason comic book movies avoided comic accurate costumes for a very long time is because a lot of those comic accurate costumes don't translate super well into
They don't look good.
you know, on
They
film and
don't look
everything.
like
So they were definitely leaning into that, and then also on top of that, like, you appreciate the cameo because Channing Tatum has been attached to doing a Gambit movie for the longest time. He wanted to play Gambit initially, and like just like conflicts and contracts just didn't work out for him. So I appreciated the cameo for what it was, and
yes,
because it's a Deadpool movie, them leaning into the campiness of it and like, you know, doing the super thick accent and like kind of making him a super dumb character. Like, it's just like it worked very well for what they were doing. But like, I agree with you, like, you know, go watch X-Men 97 if you want to see a really, really hot Gambit.
yes. Although actually, I didn't mind because my partner brought this up to me. Whoever played Gambit in Wolverine Origins.
Yeah.
I thought he actually looked like Gambit. I thought the script is terrible. There's nothing he could have done.
No.
But I think he looked very good as Gambit. And had they given him like a more comic accurate costume, I think he could have pulled that off. Although I will say, I don't think this is a hot take at all. I would love a non-white Gambit. I think that would be the hottest version available. So
That'd be good.
we can
That'd work.
work on that, Hollywood. Thank you so much.
I mean, yeah, Cajun in general is like a mixed race, and like it's not really an ethnicity. It's more or less just a regionality thing. So like they could do that. That's not out of the realm of
100%.
possibilities. Yeah, no.
I have a theory.
Go ahead.
Going to other cameos that happened in it. I have a theory that someone at Marvel hates the Fantastic Four
Yes.
based off of their recent treatment of those characters.
Yeah. I mean, so back in the day, when MCU was like really hitting its stride, but they didn't have any of the Fox rights, so X-Men, Fantastic Four, like anything that was not a movie property they owned, they basically tried to kill. Like when they did their second version of Secret Wars, it was basically to like kill off the Fantastic Four in the comics. And like they were really abusive toward them. They did the same thing to X-Men, where basically they were trying to make the Inhumans like basically a replacement for the mutants, and that just
That's
never.
why we got the Inhumans TV show.
And it never fucking worked.
No.
So
But like we get John Krasinski in the fan cast for the Doctor Strange movie where he's shredded and then his head explodes. We get Chris Evans back as Human Torch where he's skinned alive. And then the new Fantastic Four movie is in an alternate universe, which screams to me of, well, if it doesn't work, then they just get to go away forever.
Yeah. I think the Fantastic Four is just a little too camp is the biggest problem. And like
we've talked about this before. I'm like, I don't know who genuinely likes the Fantastic Four. Like, I don't know who they keep making those movies for because nobody's seen them, I don't think.
Boomers who have actually read Fantastic Four comics.
That's fair. Although, yeah, John Krasinski is a great casting choice. I wish they would have actually done something with that because I think that's an excellent choice.
It is. He looks just like the character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, jury's still out on the Pedro Pascal and everybody else that they have in it. I don't think it's a bad cast. I just don't necessarily know what direction they could possibly go with it. And now that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Doom, like, how the fuck does that work?
I don't know. It reeks of desperation.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, that's the funny, ironic thing about it is that you just had a movie that made fun of what's going on in Marvel. Like, they specifically say it's like, yeah, coming at a bit of a point. Multiverse shit kind of sucks. Can we stop doing it? Like, literally things that are in the movie. And literally the same weekend, you reveal that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Doctor Doom. Also, please stop announcing shit, like, right after we just finished recordings.
Yeah,
Please.
that happened.
I literally opened IGN. It's just like, is anything coming out of Comic-Con? And I really don't care. Thing ends. I'm editing, and all of a sudden it's like Robert Downey Jr. is back as Doctor Doom. I'm just like, you could have said that like just a few hours before.
Yeah, you had to schedule your panel for later in the day. Jeez.
Rude.
But yeah, no.
What do you think's gonna happen while we record this one? Do you think another assassination attempt will go down? Do you think a Batman movie will be announced? Do you think?
Well,
Don't threaten me with a good time.
well, it did say that Trump's plane had to do an emergency landing, but that's not necessarily.
They had to spray paint over the Vance sticker that they put on it because they're reconsidering that whole.
No, actually, they're getting a sponsorship from IKEA.
Oh, okay.
But
don't bring my native land into this.
But
No, like IKEA, no.
But they're currently in a bidding war with Ashley Furniture.
Oh, what a nightmare.
It's a shame America Furniture Warehouse isn't still in business.
I was about to say, is Lazy Boy still a thing? Because I think that one's a ringer.
No, it's because there's boy in the name, and you can't have that. That's too close to something queer for the Republican Party.
Yes, because them breaking Grinder at the convention wasn't queer enough.
No. I saw a TikTok today that was like, Grinder's never gone down at a pride like parade. It's never gone down at like the spoiling the joke. Never mind. Edit this whole thing out.
Well, I was just gonna make the point of just like, well, you know, you have to remember a pride parade. Everybody is already out. Grinders for closeted gays. Looking for each other.
True.
Openly gay folk are just like, want to bang? Yes? No? Cool.
So conversion therapy works is what I'm hearing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it totally doesn't ruin lives and lead to higher suicide rates at all.
Nope.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I should go to Chick-fil-A later.
Oh god.
Tell you what, go on Sunday.
There you go.
Did you hear they're going to be forced to start staying open on Sundays?
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, I love that for them.
Yeah.
Oh god. So yeah, is there anything that has kind of been spoiled for you in our new social media paradigm where basically like if you're just on TikTok or on Instagram, like basically nothing is safe or sacred?
See, nothing I've cared about, to be honest. I will say, actually, this is a very niche. It's not niche, but it's a book talk thing. But I am currently reading A Court of Thorn and Roses, which is like, every book
Horny.
talk girly. It's pretty horny. But I will say it's actually pretty good, and I have to stay away from everything right now because every single person wants to spoil this fucking book for me, and I'm only on book 2, and the books are so fucking long, and I'm just like, can you give a bitch a minute? I need some time to read this. I've had a couple things spoiled already, but nothing media-wise, because I don't care. I know you mentioned like The Boys. I was like, I actually love when people spoil The Boys for me because that's a show I will never fucking watch. And I love hearing like, okay, so that gross thing happened. Dope. So glad I'm still not watching that.
I'm 100% convinced I could tell you the exact like plot, episode to episode for every Game of Thrones season, and I've never watched it. I am convinced.
Right choice, honestly.
like Walking Dead's another one. Like I've never actually sat down and watched through any of the Walking Dead. I guarantee I could tell you the exact plot.
I watched the first 3 years of that and then gave up. I will say House of Dragon probably could be spoiled for me if I hadn't already read the book that it's based on.
Right.
So like I'm kind of in the same boat as Brie where like nothing that I really care about gets spoiled.
Yeah.
Like a movie will come out and be like, oh, okay, that's what happens in that movie I wasn't gonna see. Cool.
Right.
Yeah. That's more or less how I feel about it. And I've always had the policy of spoilers. Like if I'm not gonna watch it within at least like the first month of it being released and I don't have an interest in watching it, I'm not gonna be upset about spoilers. That being said, if it is something I'm interested in about, it's just like, okay, well, I guess I can't be on the internet this week.
Yeah, I do think it's ridiculous how quickly things go up because I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's like a small threshold just like personally. Like I'll be like, I'll give people a couple like a month or something. Like especially if it's like something like really hot that they gotta see, which honestly I'm not really I don't really consume that kind of media anymore. But the internet is like, oh, okay, you didn't see it like midnight opening night. Well, here's the entire movie. I'm like, fucking chill.
Honestly, when I was still watching the Disney Plus like Star Wars content, like literally if you did not watch it like midnight release, don't open your phone in the morning because literally it will be literally the first thing you would see. Thanks, Straw Hat Goofy.
Yeah.
But like it's just like you guys can't wait like a day or two before you start talking about this shit.
It's wild. I don't know if it's just a need for validation thing or something because I'm just like I don't ever feel that need to be like I gotta tell the entire internet this thing right now.
and the problem is also like the algorithmness of it all and like the infinite scroll of just like it's instantly pushed to your face when you're on the platform. Like at least on YouTube, if there's like a video about like let's talk about this such and such movie, it was just like cool. I have the option to click that or not. I can ignore that and not be spoiled. That's not an option on Instagram or TikTok. It's like if you scroll to it, it's there.
Yeah.
And so it's just like it's kind of interesting. And so on one hand, you could get frustrated with content creators who are like just trying to be first, but I think also it's just how the platforms are organized, where it's just like, it's gonna get pushed right to you right away, and like we want you specifically engaged the entire time. We don't care if you're just skipping through everything, or if you're stop and look, or if you happen to just be in the bathroom, start washing your hands, and that same video plays 20 times before you're done.
Yep.
God, I hate that.
Yep.
So it's for me, it's always the same 5-second video where it's just the same audio over and over and over and over, and I'm like, stop.
It's either when I'm in the bathroom and like I'm washing my hands, or it's when I'm in the kitchen and like cutting on the cutting board or something, or my hands are occupied, and so I'm just like I'm not thinking, but it's just like I've literally listened to the last 15 seconds over and over again.
Yeah. The internet, it's come such a long way. It's ruining us.
It already ruined us. We're just basically in a hole at this point.
Yeah, I remember r/space sticks. That did a wonder to my brain.
Brain rot, man.
Don't look it up. Don't.
Oh man, I was going to for sure.
Remember, kids, safe search on.
Boop, boop, boop.
No, it's that subreddit's been quarantined for over a decade now. Like, there's nothing to be found there.
Rats. There goes my Friday night.
That was the one I used to like. Anytime I needed to like shock somebody, that's what I would pull up and like swing my computer around for. I also used to keep like an image, a goatsy, and like one guy, one jar on my phone, so I could just be like, "Oh, look at this!"
Man, you really are the Kevin Pereira of the show.
I really am, and I hate it so much. I've grown. I have grown. I went to therapy.
Yay.
Kevin did it.
Lord.
But no, I was actually watching a G4 documentary about Attack of the Show, and like Kevin Pereira would literally do that, where he's just like, "Oh, going in 3, 2, 1, show my guest like 2 girls, 1 cup. All right, and go."
And action.
Just like, yeah, no, that's totally an okay thing.
Simply
2
the
girls,
worst.
1 cup. That video.
Classics.
Yeah. Where the thing about that video was watching people react to it was better than the actual video.
I'm fucking sure. I've never seen it. I'm so happy I've never seen it. It has been spoiled for me. Don't you worry about it.
Well, now it's just part
Full
of
circle.
now it's just part of internet lore. It's just like you
It
know what
is.
it is without having to see it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Much
Okay.
like One Guy, One Jar, Goatsy, Kids in the Sandbox, Pain Olympics.
So if anybody hasn't caught on yet, Seth is the chronically online one of the group.
And I have been for a long time.
Still here, folks.
Despite our best
Barely.
efforts.
Uh,
Speaking
That
of,
cough is me slowly dying.
oh, did you take up smoking again?
Did I quit? I was unaware I quit.
You told us you were quitting.
I got a pen now.
Mm,
Trying.
but is that
fair.
nicotine or is it cannabis?
Yeah, that's nicotine.
Mm.
No, dude, I do shatter. If I'm smoking weed, I'm going hard.
Oh, we remember the 420 episode. Trust me.
Yeah. Quick aside, I remember Aaron, you and your wife being at my house and me breaking out the dab rig and the blowtorch, and your wife just like, "What the fuck?"
And in our defense, like Colorado was the only place where it was legal at the time.
oh man.
And
Yeah.
like that
That's
and,
right.
and that's when like basically Colorado you guys broke the cannabis industry in a lot of ways. Like back in the day, just like getting like a thing of like really crappy like, you know, weed, like an ounce was a big deal. And then you guys are like pulling out like plants in your guys' closet. You guys got
Denver and Portland
That's
for
right.
sure.
it's like you got gummies,
Yeah.
you guys have the dab break and the resin, it's just all this stuff, and we were just kind of like, Jesus Christ, I can't even score. I can't even score.
Well,
a
and my
joint.
girlfriend at the time worked in the industry, so she got discounts.
Oh yeah.
Oh
And
fuck yeah.
so, yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
No, I remember. I think we were watching Chasing Amy at your apartment at the time, and like
think
I took
so.
like 3 gummies and basically was, you know, knocked the hell out for the like at least like 12 hours.
3 gummies. Oh, Lord.
Edibles weren't a thing.
It's true. Everyone has that edible story. There's no question. They're just like, well, I didn't know.
Like edibles weren't a thing. The only time I've ever had edibles before that is when Emily made weed snickerdoodles. But like she had to make them from scratch. It's not like the stuff that you get like when you go to a dispensary and they're basically it's like, oh yeah, this is like 5,000 milligrams in 1 cookie. And it's just like that seems excessive.
Well, and yeah, with edibles, the dosage is weird too. I have to tell my partner that all the time. He's like, well, we'll just do half. We'll cut it in half. I was like, okay, well, one of us is going to probably be very high and then the other's going to be not high at all. So it's not a 50-50 split.
Yeah, I remember when we scored this edible pound cake thing, and I basically came home, and we were living with my in-laws at the time, and so my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and Emily had all had a piece, and they were all basically knocked out when I got home. I was just like, everybody okay?
We go, oh.
And they were just like, don't eat the pound cake.
It's really good.
Don't do it.
I was just, and then I had to remind him, it was just like, what was the #1 rule when we started dating? Don't tell me not to do something.
That's fair.
That can go some very bad places, I'm sure. You might want to reconsider that rule.
Well, it was in our vows, so she knows what she
Oh,
signed up
okay.
for.
Wow, all right.
But we did get married in Vegas, so how much does that count?
Yeah, fair.
They say what happens there stays there. My chlamydia didn't, but other things I'm sure do.
That's what penicillin's for, people, so it's fine.
Just get a Z-Pack and just move right on along with your day.
Anyways.
Safe sex, folks.
No glove, no love.
Yeah.
Also, it's not like the pictures they showed you in high school, kids, just so you know.
The chlamydia? Your school showed you pictures of chlamydia?
Oh, yeah, they did.
For sure, yeah.
I was homeschooled. My parents barely wanted to talk to me about it.
I was about to say, did you not experience public school sex ed? It's more or less just scare tactics.
No, I did not. What I got was my parents and my youth group telling me just don't have it, and then when I looked it up, blue waffle came up, and that was it. That was the closest I got to a sex education.
That is basically what the images are that they show you when you take sex ed in public school. It's literally just like, here's like the worst case scenario of untreated STDs when you don't have access to medical care.
That's interesting.
As somebody who is homeschooled, this is...
No, please.
Sorry, no, you go ahead.
No, I was going to
as
say...
somebody who was homeschooled... Yeah, damn it.
Go, Seth, you fucking go.
So, homeschooled... Regular high school is just a complete and total mystery to me. I did go to a prom, but everything else just like I have no context for outside of movies, and they're not accurate, is what I'm told.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, high school was a bad experience for me. But I will say, I just remembered that in middle school, like it was like a pre-sex ed where they kind of split us into like girls and boys.
Yeah, I had that too.
They passed around like a fake tit for us all to feel. That just conjured up in my mind, and I was like, why did they do that? What was the point of that? Why did that not awaken my bisexuality at that time? That came way later.
Everything was still very heteronormative at the time, so like it's one of those things. They wanted to keep you in the closet as long as they could.
Yeah, I guess so. I had to wait till college. Such a bummer.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't think they do that anymore.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we never got the putting a condom on banana. We didn't get that. It was mostly just the scare tactics of just kind of like, if you have sex, you will get pregnant and you will die.
Yes.
That was more or less what sex education was in public schools.
All right. In the youth group, it was just don't do it, and if you do, you're gonna end up having had sex with every person they've also had sex with. It's gonna immediately multiply your numbers.
So when I was in 5th grade,
abstinence only.
I remember in 5th grade, the one big scare tactic that they had was actually had a woman come to our class who was HIV positive with AIDS, tell her about her life, and like there was like, and she got into like the weird religious stuff of just like, Jesus came to me and said, you're going to live and all this kind of stuff. But it was still used as like a scare tactic, just like, and all that because I had sex one time.
Cool.
Wow.
You can still have sex,
Fun.
just be safe. Fun.
Yeah.
Sex is great. Just be safe.
Smart about it.
It was like,
you can get vaccinated against HPV, so
yeah,
ladies.
And if it is one of those things where you have multiple partners, go get tested.
Pulling out works just fine. Just kidding.
And it's worked great for me so far.
I'm not pregnant. It's fine. Oh goodness.
Hey man, I love how off the rails we get. Like,
I was saying, I wasn't expecting a sex ed topic on this, but I don't even remember really how we got here. But I do love it.
Yeah,
we went from 2 girls, 1 cup to talking about our sex ed.
There's connecting dots there somewhere.
Let's just call it Seth's tangent. That's all it is.
Yes.
Yeah. I
All
mentioned the blue waffle.
That's true. That did happen.
There's so many Gen Z people out there who have no context for any of this.
Oh, oh no. I love that for them.
And honestly, yeah, same. They don't need the context for this.
No,
like
It's a wild
don't
west out
calcify your
there.
brain the way we did.
Yeah, if you're under the age of 21, don't watch this episode.
Eh.
Lord.
It's like you have to be legal to drink to listen to this show.
Probably.
I like that.
Probably.
Europe doesn't count.
No.
But we don't want the Europeans listening to this. Those
It's an
awful
American show.
Europeans.
How do we segue to the next topic? Anyways, the Olympics. Just kidding.
I was gonna say, speaking of like unfound hatred, did anyone else find out this week that Australia has like a rivalry against America when it comes to the Olympics? Because I didn't know that.
I think Australia has a rivalry in the same way of just like the classic, like, we're going to beat America this year, and we're just like, Australia is at the Olympics? That just happened.
Down on my phone for 1 fucking second.
I sat too forward on my chair and it slid out from under me.
This episode is wild.
You saved the beer, though. You saved the beer.
That's all that matters.
Yes, I'm a professional, Seth.
He's done this before.
I often am falling off of furniture with a drink.
My wife is now in the kitchen staring directly at me, looking very
I'm
disappointed.
Oh, that was so good.
Oh, that's funny.
Hey.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Don't make me tell the story about when I slipped out of the chair and then you came running down the stairs to laugh at me and you fell down the stairs.
Don't make me tell the story that I'm currently telling.
Yeah, no,
You can just tell everybody you have a habit of falling out of chairs.
yes, I do, actually. Hey, it could be worse. I could be my father and be 330 pounds and break chairs at the office and then try to sue my employer.
Oh no.
Also
we're
true.
Becoming privy to some information.
Like, I care.
The whole internet is now.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm the one who edits these episodes, so I get to decide if that stays in or not.
But you know what? You have all the power. You're so right.
However, in fairness, I have never edited one thing Seth has told me to edit out, so I'm probably have to at least...
I've asked you to edit things. Oh, yeah, on air. I've never texted you later and been like, cut that out.
Well, there was one time where I, like, texted you after we recorded. It's just like, I know you said that I needed to cut this, but I think we need to leave this in.
However,
I'm vetoing you, and I'm keeping it in.
you are the producer. It's fine.
Oh, God. Anyways.
Olympics, am I right?
Yeah, the Olympics. That guy's dick was so big, it knocked the pole off the thing.
What, the Algerian boxer?
No, the pole vaulter.
That was a joke.
And she's cis. That wasn't funny.
It wasn't funny, but that was the joke.
No,
I got
did you
into
guys
so
see
many
that
fights
clip?
over that.
I fortunately haven't gotten into anything, and I was expecting it. But no, that pole vaulter, he like goes up, clears it, and then his dick gets caught on the beam and knocks the beam off.
Oh,
Yeah.
poor. I
It's
mean,
like, he wasn't winning a medal, but I guarantee you his DMs.
Yeah,
We're going gold.
definitely.
I didn't hear that. That's really funny though. I'm also trying to. I wish I could think. I wish I could have thought of like a good pickup line for him. But if you can think of one,
He doesn't need a pickup line. He just needs that clip. He's just like, oh yeah, no, I can't in the
He
Olympics.
keeps that loaded on his phone.
Yeah, no, he's just like, oh no, I was in the Olympics. Here's my pole vault attempt, and then he just shows that. And he's just like,
yeah,
Mm?
your place or mine.
I know I'm not Christian Bale, but
Listen.
callbacks.
Oh,
I did get the opportunity to show Emily the Gojira performance because
That was neat.
Well, because that was all over my For You page, literally, like,
Yeah.
literally every other video. And then I was having a conversation with Emily when we were going to bed, and she was just like, yeah, no, I haven't seen anything about that. I was just like, okay, I need to show you this.
Mhm.
And, like, just
Yeah,
gave
it was
her,
cool.
and just gave her a couple of pieces of context, just like, so, this was part of the opening ceremony. It was filmed in front of the prison where they kept Marie Antoinette, and the band's name is Gojira, and video.
I didn't see any of this. I actually don't really like the Olympics at all. I think it's a giant
Yeah.
pissing contest, and it's very wasteful. And they always like. I think they did better this year, if I'm not mistaken. But usually they just like build these huge fucking things for the Olympics to take place, and then get abandoned, and they displace people, and it's terrible. So I don't think they did that this time, but they usually do.
Yeah, I think certain cities that already have like infrastructure for this have an easier time than say when they did Brazil, and they basically ripped out entire communities just to build some of their stuff. Like
Yup.
the next one is in Los Angeles, and it's just like, well, LA already has a shit ton of like sport venues and stuff. Like, you guys don't really need to like tear up the whole entire city to accommodate
To
for
displace already poor people. Thank you so much.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're going to anyway, but they'll just do that for fun.
Yeah. No, we don't. We'll use it as an excuse, but we were gonna do
I
it
was like,
anyways.
that's just no. We displace homeless people. They're gross, but poor people can stay around for a little while.
I will
hate it
say,
here.
as well as
Yeah.
I will say, as somebody who was in Los Angeles about a year ago, man, their homeless problem is. It was bad.
Somebody should make a solution for that. That would be so great. And it's not making it so they can't sleep on park benches. I don't think that's fixing that, actually, weirdly enough.
Yeah,
So.
no, looking at it, it's just like, I'm going to let you in on a secret. Just telling these people you can't be here is not fixing the problem.
They have nowhere to go, in fact. Portland is very similar, though, but I think Portland is doing a little bit more to help them, allegedly.
They have a little bit more social programs. Los Angeles especially, practically nothing.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
I also don't like the Olympics.
Look, I'm just glad I don't have to work in Olympics for the first time in 4 years. So that's nice.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on Peacock.
When I was at Discovery, they owned Eurosport, so I was supporting Eurosport's feeds of the Olympics at the time. So I did that for Beijing and Japan, over COVID basically, and yeah, that sucked.
I
bet. But no, I the only reason I've been seeing anything is because it's been all over my For You page of people talking about it. But I have the same opinion of Brie. I think it's just a pissing contest.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, look, we got more medals than you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not into sports or any kind of like athletic activities, then like obviously like interest is very fun. If you are super nationalistic, which I don't really think anybody on this show is, like that's
weird.
That's kind of lost on us. But yeah, it's interesting because there's just like so much like bullshit coming out of it that is just like, are we really still doing this?
And also those beds, they just need to let the athletes fuck. Like
they're hot people in peak condition. Like, of course they're gonna fuck. Why wouldn't they?
They brought back the 80,000 condoms this year.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. I think they got rid of the beds.
So they're giving them condoms, but then they're still using the shitty cardboard beds.
Oh, are they?
You can fuck in a twin bed. It's fine.
Well, I was about to say, they're also Olympic athletes. I think they can be a little bit creative with their positions. They don't need to use the beds.
They can figure it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, you think we're going to fuck, like, on beds when, like, I could literally just, like, bench press a car? Come on. Have you seen my pole vault?
Standing 69?
It probably.
Some of them good.
That is impressive when you see somebody, when you're watching a film and then they go into the standing 69. That is impressive.
When you're watching a feature film.
Yes, I watch full pornos. I don't just watch scenes.
He watches for the plot.
Yeah.
I need to know what happens with the big sausage pizza.
She can't pay for it.
That woman stole all those limes. What are they gonna do to her?
Leave this though.
I wonder how she's gonna get out of that dryer.
I actually do watch a lot of parody porn because I think they're fun.
Oh yeah,
like the Batman parodies, the Scooby Doo.
Oh yeah, no, the Wood Rocket stuff back in the day was always great.
Wood Rocket was great.
They don't
Good.
make porn like they used to, kids.
No, it's all this
This
amateur
episode.
stuff now and OnlyFans.
Well, everybody's step siblings or a step parents. I don't get it.
That is getting frustrating when I'm scrolling and every single video is like step blank, step blank, step. Can I
Yeah.
just have normal fucking porn?
I feel like we talked about this last week of like, you know, specifically MILF being like my preferred category because it's just now age appropriate. But it's very
Yeah.
weird when it says like stepmom. It's just like, you realize I hate my stepmom, right?
Don't do this to me.
You're talking to Pornhub? Why are you showing me this? I don't like my stepmom.
We're doing really great this episode. I just want people to know.
We really are.
This is what we get for recording on a Friday afternoon after long weeks. We're just like, at this point,
Yeah.
we're just like, any fuck left to give has left the building at this point.
Absolutely. Oh my god.
All right. Well, speaking of some media news, you know, more depressing stuff happening in the gaming industry. Yay, fun. Love that.
Always.
GameStop shuts down Game Informer, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. Game Informer is obviously a very long running publication in the gaming industry. It's kind of been a staple for a long time. It was always annoying for people at GameStop trying to ask you to sign up for subscriptions and like other whatever tier plans.
Oh, is that what they were asking me to do?
Yeah, basically. But
Oh.
like Game Informer was always cool. Like it was one of those things where it's just like it's one of the first times you probably would find out about a video game that was coming out back in the day. You know, it was probably my first introduction into the gaming media side of things. And, you know, they try to modernize. Obviously, I think it's a lot harder to go from being a print publication to doing online media. And so a lot of that stuff never worked out. They started ramping things down, like, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But, like, now it's officially kaput. Like, now Game Informer, like, the website doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't go anywhere, so...
Right,
Sad.
Well, they
makes
pulled it after
sense.
the announcement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Immediately after. I just like it happened so quickly because I was reading the article and like how is it always that like they're like, hey, LOL, by the way, you don't have a job anymore. See you never, I guess. I'm just like, is there no way for these like companies to shut down and like be polite to their employees? Is that like does that happen ever? Like I just don't understand why it's like an overnight thing all the time.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, it always
Yeah.
it's one of those things, and support unionizing your workspace, guys, because
Yes.
your bosses don't give a shit about you,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll pull this kind of shit all the time, and like it sucks for them, you know. Yeah, like it's upsetting. I hope, you know, again, some of the people who work there go on to do other things. Maybe kind of figure out how to do things on a more sustainable model, because I just think that, you know, Game Informer as itself, we know that GameStop's been dying for a while until they become a meme stock again. But
Yeah. Well, and to shut the website down and get rid of all of the articles is just another way to screw over the people they just fired. Because now it's like, unless they have hard copies of that saved, like, hey, this is my work you can't find anywhere.
Yeah, I wonder if
Yep.
it's on Internet Archive or not. I hope it is.
It might be.
I hope so.
But Internet Archive also has been having some legal issues as of late because of, again, intellectual property, you know, legal shit, which, you know, it's unfortunate that we keep having to fucking go down that road just for preservation's sake.
Yeah.
Sad. I hate
Yeah, and then we also, of course, had a bunch of layoffs happening at Bungie.
I can't wait for them to start their indie studio. All of these employees that just got laid off. That'll be cool.
We
They'll
talked
probably
ab-
make a good game finally.
Yeah, we talked about that last week of just like, yeah, like I hope that's where some of these developers go, is just like start doing their own thing, not having to do stupid microtransaction based stuff and screwing over their player base, and just making something that's cool instead of soulless. And again, just I feel like there's got to be like kind of a way where it's just like they need, some of these things need to start approaching stuff from like a sustainability standpoint as opposed to like constant growth. Like that's the biggest problem with capitalism. It's just like, if it's not growing at a fast clip, it's basically worthless. It's like, no, it should be a thing. It's just like, hey, I'm able to do this. I'm able to make this kind of content. I make this kind of game, make a comfortable living for myself, and just make something that's really cool that people love. Is that so fucking hard?
You would fucking think, because like I was reading this article and it's funny because it's like it sounds like they were just making like a bunch of different versions of Destiny. And I was like, you got to make other things, my dude. Like, of course you fucking failed at this. Like, that is so frustrating. But and, like, obviously, again, working in corporate, like everyone is so all about innovation, and the next best thing they don't check to see if the thing they just made is good enough to keep innovating on. Maybe we go a different direction, but they're like, no, but number go up, innovation. And that seems like exactly what was happening here. It was just offshoots of the same fucking game that like we could have gone so many different directions. Clearly there's a lot very talented, passionate people on this, but they were putting it into games that weren't going to be successful. Like it's terrible.
Part of the thing that they talk about in the article and like why a lot of layoffs happen is because they basically accounted for a bunch of growth that they couldn't really deliver on. And like it was one of those things where a lot of people were celebrating when they separated from Activision as a publisher. It's like, oh, Bungie as the developers is going to do their own thing and it'll be great. But they still started doing a lot of the shitty practices and and then of course trying to do like hypergrowth, got acquired by Sony, which of course, when you get acquired by the big, like if you're not showing the appropriate growth, they're gonna cut you. That's just how they do it. So
yeah. And Sony's real good at that.
Oh yeah. I mean they all suck, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so hope everybody who gets laid off can find gainful employment elsewhere and or move on and like try doing their own thing and kick ass without having big corporate daddy over you constantly.
Play more indie games is the thesis. I think.
Yeah, I've actually been loving
support indie devs.
I've actually been loving going back and revisiting like indie titles that I haven't gotten to play before or are currently being released. So that's been a lot of fun.
I just recently played Little Misfortune, and that was a delight of a game to play through.
Yeah, and if you really want to hear more about indie games, you should listen to Game Birds.
Yes, it's a great podcast. We're gonna play Frog Detective 1, 2, and 3.
I saw on Discord that you were playing Frog Detective. Actually, like I think I was playing just at the time. I was just like, oh, she's on her Frog Detective shit. All right, let's go.
And I always will be. Just kidding. Those games are very short, but it is fun. It's exactly what you think it is.
It's a frog who detects things.
Yes. He also loves to tell people that books are stupid and you shouldn't read them. All the relevant information's on the internet. So thanks, Frog Detective.
I agree with that.
So wait, is it a frog?
That's a message I endorse.
I was about to say, Is that a frog or is that Seth?
Who's to say? Maybe both.
I actually did a lot of the writing on Frog Detective, if you didn't know.
That's so crazy. Yeehaw.
Man. Anything else you want to talk about, guys?
A lot of political stuff, but we can talk about that in the after show.
We're not a political show.
Oh, God. Getting closer every week. Said it last time, too.
Free Palestine. That's what my bracelet says, folks.
Look, if I haven't offed myself by November, like, just do it for me.
I'll take you to Canada with me. Hey. It's sometimes better there.
Sometimes.
Yeah, tell that to the natives.
Yeah, and the people who live there and healthcare and everything. It's all terrible.
Yeah. But hey, they got that forever prime minister. That's got to be great.
Yeah,
that is super fun and cool. He's doing a great job.
Anyways, thanks. Yeah, I know, Fox. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Internet Friends. I am TCK Media Productions on most platforms. You can find me on YouTube, where we'll be posting this, as well as other podcasting platforms. You got that Seth23, who you can find on TikTok occasionally, doing sketches or basically being inebriated and just kind of just saying the quiet thing out loud, but not in a Republican way.
Yet. Once I get canceled, I'm going to go right down that pipeline. I'm going to pull a Nacho Dorito or whatever his name is. Bubble!
And then
I was watching.
Go ahead.
After show.
Okay. And then, of course, you have the raccoon-a-loon herself, Brie. You can listen to her podcast, Game Birds, where she and her friend Alice talk about games, specifically indie titles. It comes out every other Monday. Basically, like, if you see this episode, it's probably come out a day or two later. But
Probably.
Probably. But it's very good. I've been enjoying it very much. I've loved what you guys have done with the treatment, especially having the gameplay on YouTube while you guys are discussing it. It's been very nice. Loving the production quality on that. And Seth, what is our homework for next week?
I was Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, okay, cool.
I talked about it a little while ago. I want to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds good. And that will be our homework for the next episode. And so we will see you guys next time.
Bye.